You're listening to
They're going to call it a hard foul. They're going to call it a hard foul.
All right, we're back. Just like Jason Tatum's back, Celtics coming off a 1-2 road trip. Very interesting road trip. Certainly a lot to talk about from it. Mike, we are Hard Foul, and we're brought to you by the what?
Fans First Sports Network, bitch.
That's right. And
With
I'm
my
Jim
list.
Quigley. And I'm playing injured with a wounded head, wounded skull, a hole in that head. You know, not that there's much inside, so it doesn't make a
That
difference.
big Quigley head.
Yeah, I got an 8 head, not a 4 head. There was a girl in our neighborhood that we grew up with whose nickname was actually 8 head. It was pretty cruel, you know, because her head was twice the size of a regular person's head, so they called her 8 head. Yeah.
I grew up with a kid named Booger.
Well, that is true too. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
his
is
name
true
was,
too.
I never got his real name. He must have picked
Chris.
his nose or something in
His
kindergarten.
first name was Chris.
Oh, well, I only knew him as Booger, and I never really understood why his name was Booger.
You could have asked him his first name. You
It was just accepted. He responded to Booger. He was like, Booger, what's up? He was like, what's up?
He did respond to Booger. He really did. All right, let's get back to basketball. Mike, where do you want to start? We can start Tatum's return. We can talk about the officiating. There's a lot to talk about there. These games in Missoula's game plans and how they all planned out. There's a lot to dive into. So you start wherever you want, and we'll go from there.
All right, Jim, why don't you kick us off with Jason Tatum's return?
So look, I think it's mostly positive, right? He looks really fluid. Like that's the part that kind of stood out to me. In that first game against Dallas, when he went in ball fake from the left corner three, and then did a step back three on PJ Washington, that was the move that you weren't supposed to see anymore after the Achilles injury. So to me, I was like, okay. And I really love this stuff, especially in that first game where he was moving and cutting off the ball and getting involved in that way. So just like the physical aspect of it, it looks pretty good. I think there's still some clunkiness there, and I don't think he quite looks like Jason Tatum, the player, yet. There's been a lot of, I thought, him trying to find it and settling for difficult shots, long threes or off the dribble stuff. And, he when he would go inside, he'd have more success. But I think on the whole, you can see, and I know it's the new basketball term now, gravity. Look at all the gravity that this player pulls. But with him and Jaylen Brown out there, you could see the defense and how they react and how the other guys are going to be able to play off that once this really starts getting going. Shots for guys like Shireman, Hauser, Pritchard, they're going to be a lot easier shots than they're seeing now. You're going to have to send help on Tatum and Brown, and when they're on the floor together, you're going to have to send help on one of them while you can't leave the other. So, those other three guys are going to have some real opportunities and some real opportunities to get great looks. And you saw that, I thought, both in Dallas and in Cleveland. So, early returns, I think it's really good. They have obviously a plan, like 27 minutes those first three games, fourth game off. So that was probably written in stone before he came back. Going to be real interesting to see what they do the next week, if that bumps up a little bit and how that escalates. That intrigues me. But he seems in pretty good shape. Definitely got tired out there, but you got to be pleased, I think, right, Mike?
I'm pleased. I'm real pleased. I mean, the only thing he's missing right now is the scoring efficiency. That's where the clunkiness is. But his passing, his moves. I mean, that missed dunk in that first game came off off of Jason Tatum. Like that's like a patented move. So you can tell he's been working really hard, and he looks like he could play more than 27 minutes. It's all very positive in my mind. Like he's back, and he just needs to play. He just needs to be out there. I felt.
Are you surprised by how many minutes he's getting? That 27 was more than I thought.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now that I've seen him play, I'm not surprised. I'm like, he could probably play fucking 35 minutes. Look at this guy. What was I going to say? I felt bad for him in the San Antonio game because you could see him getting going. He scored 7 straight points. Then he had to come out. Obviously that wouldn't be the case in normal circumstances. They might have won that game if Tatum wasn't on a minutes count. I feel like the momentum really really shifted when he didn't come back in the game.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's looked really great. Both ends. His rebounding is certainly good. I mean, even defensively, he seems like he's there. I know there's been a couple times he's been huffing and puffing, which is
Yeah, to be
that's not
expected,
that's
right?
not Jason Tatum. I don't think I've ever seen that guy huff and puff his my entire life watching him. So just give him time. Maybe they'll bump him up to 30 minutes. Maybe not, but we'll see.
Yeah, and we talked and we spent a lot of, I think rightfully so, saying, a year off from playing in a real live NBA game, and these guys are, 5, 6 months into this thing now that he's gonna have some catching up to do, legs wise and conditioning wise. And I think that's there. I'm surprised at how much ahead of the curve he is even with that.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was going to look a lot worse. Um, just the worst part of his game right now has just been his shot selection and trying to figure out how he's fitting in. But I thought
Maybe
it was going to be that plus conditioning plus getting up to speed and those parts of it seem a lot more seamless, which is to me that's stunning. Like it's a stunning thing.
maybe we're in a point of time now where the science behind it and the medicals and the training behind it that these guys can come back better than they used to. And Tatum's certainly an anomaly. Sorry.
Anomaly,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but it is great. It is great that they have him back, and I had fun. That Cleveland game in that first half, there was a stretch there where he really looked like the old Jason Tatum. Um, and they're gonna clearly need him and Brown to win this thing. That's what I took away from this road trip. You ready to go there, or did you have more things to say about Tatum?
Just even like, he's not available last night, but you think on that last possession of that game is if he's in that game, they went small purposely for the offensive, and rightfully, I have no beef
The
with Joe going
soft
small.
fucking foul called
It
on
was
him.
fun. But if Tatum's in that position against Holmgren, maybe it's a rebound, maybe it's a bat away and time runs out, and so like even going small, you're going small with the 6'10" guy.
Yeah,
And so like the difference is and so my bigger point is the other part that stands out for me, Mike, is they just look a lot bigger with him on the floor. They look a lot more imposing and bigger with him on the floor.
that's important because they're not very big.
No,
Um,
they're physical, they're tough, but they're not that big.
no,
They
it's
make
not
up
that
for it in a
tall.
lot of different ways. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was really impressed with the Cleveland win. I gotta just start there. The game started out. Celtics looked real bad again, shooting in the
Mhm.
first quarter. Like they just couldn't hit any shots, and I was a little nervous because Cleveland had been playing at such a high clip offensively since that Harden trade. I was like, oh, I don't know about tonight, but the way they responded, I think they leading at the end of the first quarter. They kind of just turned it on
Yeah, they
like
were.
real quick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. There was after the first quarter, it was kind of wire to wire from there.
It really
Yeah.
was, and it was wire to wire because every time Cleveland made a run, Jaylen Brown either made a defensive play, pass to somebody wide open, or scored. And what was it, the third quarter? The third quarter, it looked like Cleveland could come back in it, I think, or maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter. And he just kept making play after play
Yeah.
after play. He threw that one pass sideline to Shireman, who hit that three, probably the best game he's
Oh,
had this
that bounce
season.
pass, that was fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah. And I thought the defense on James Harden all night was terrific. I thought the double teams on Mobley, like the game plan from Missoula, like you could tell Mobley does not respond well to a double team. He's slow to pass out of it. He's slow to make decisions, and when he finally makes a decision, there's like 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Even the double teams on Mitchell, especially in the first half, was just like taking Cleveland out of rhythm. They weren't getting good 3-point looks. They weren't missing good looks, in my opinion. And then Pritchard's defense on Schroeder just came in
Yeah.
and shut them down. So I thought it was a great way to start the trip. I don't know if you have more on Cleveland, and we can
I
talk
just
about
thought, the
Western
one
Conference.
couple, yeah, just a couple things that stood out for that game is the end of the first quarter with Brown and Tatum on the bench, and it was White and Pritchard led kind of offense with I forget
Mhm.
the other three, but I'm sure it was like Shireman, how whatever it was,
Whatever it was.
Gonzalez, and it just goes to show the dividends, and that's been all season long because Tatum hasn't been here, but they pushed out the lead, and if that was last season the theme of our podcast so all the season long, the on off minutes with Tatum. It was just dramatic, the difference. And this season, you know, he hasn't been available. So those guys come in, they kind of take over the end of the quarter, and the next thing you know, the Celtics take off from there. So like, obviously something that's been happening, but pretty big game, and that stood out. And just again, the defense the Celtics displayed, and I thought they even the way the Spurs shot, you wouldn't think so. I thought they did all three games on this trip. I thought the defensive intensity, the effort, just grinding out attention to details with game plan, which I want to talk about, especially in that Spurs game. They really they're locked in. They're just a tough team. They're a physical team. They never give up on any possessions. And I thought I thought Cleveland got pumped in that game. Like it wasn't really. I know they made a bit of a comeback, never got closer than eight.
No close.
It wasn't all that competitive, even in the fourth quarter when they went on their run. It was just whenever Boston needed to have an answer, they did. And you made the comment about Jaylen Brown. I think I tweeted it out in real time. That third quarter was an MVP type third quarter. Just every type of play you needed him to make, he had to make, including that exceptional bounce pass. So yeah, that was I thought sent a message to Cleveland that you're not on this level. And Evan Mobley, you get talked about like you're a superstar. That guy doesn't. He just. I always thought it was going to happen for him. I just don't think he has it. I don't think he has that mindset to be that guy because that should have been a game he dominated.
Yeah, they really missed Jared Allen. Cleveland did because they were getting dominated inside. And to
Right.
just bounce off what you said about Jaylen Brown in the third quarter in that MVP performance, it carried over into San Antonio. It was unfortunate how that ended because that was looked like a heavyweight bout that was going to go right down to the wire, and that really took a lot of the steam out of the game for me. I know
Yeah.
the Celtics fought hard, but that fourth quarter they fell apart. The offense wasn't clicking, and they couldn't make any stops. And obviously, not having Jaylen Brown out there was a big factor in that game. I mean, the other thing I saw in that game against San Antonio was that the matchup against Wemby. I mean, that's probably a matchup everybody has a hard time with. But if he's hitting threes,
Yeah.
I think you got to go small. I think you got to. I was really hoping Joe was going to try Jordan Walsh on him. Um, I think it was an offensive mindset as to why we still had a big out there. At some points, it was Gaza, obviously stretched the floor and it was working offensively. But I thought the first time they matched up that Walsh did an okay job on him. Maybe that'll be Tatum if they meet again. But yeah, they don't match up with him.
Well, they made a decision, and I think it was the right one. That they were gonna allow him to shoot threes. And he's a 35% three-point shooter. He shot over 50%, so probably made three more threes than on average. Celtics lose by 9. And I think the decision is like there's nothing they can do about him inside, no matter who's in the game. He's
Mhm.
going to dominate them, so we're going to back off and we're going to let him shoot. And now there was a couple maybe they could have done a little bit of a better job where instead of just letting him walk in and take him. But I think that was clearly the game plan. That was the only way we could cover him one on one. We're going to let him shoot, and we're going to live with the result. And I don't hate it. I like they're really unless you're going to double Wemby, which is asking for trouble too because he's such a great passer out of there and he's so long that the double almost doesn't matter. that you're kind of limited with this roster on how you cover him. I also loved that they put him in the action on
Yeah, that's,
offense. They
yeah.
they went right at him and made him cover the perimeter. And look, some of it was really good shot making, just like with Wemby. Derek White's shot making was friggin' unbelievable in that
I
third quarter.
know.
But they also got him over to commit quite a bit, and they were able to get to the basket by him. Tatum had a couple drives, White had a couple drives, and they took advantage of him. Brown was doing it in the first half before he was ejected. So on the whole, I thought the game plan was solid. I really did. I thought it was a solid game plan. Credit the Celtics players for not going away from it, even though like Wemby was hitting it. You can start to cheat when things don't work, and I think it gives Joe some options if he ever faces his team again, going this way, trying to do some other things, and could make it could make it pretty interesting. I have I didn't really have an issue with the rotations or how they went at him. I thought it was kind of smart. The
Um,
officiate. Go ahead. You want to say something? Go ahead.
yeah, and I know you're going to get to the officiating. One thing that I saw from San Antonio too is they get up in guys.
Oh, they're good, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Castle gets up in guys and defends them, and then Fox on the offensive end. So hard to stay in front of him, especially with Wemby on the floor.
yep,
It's another matchup that's just really tough for the Celtics. They really
yeah,
struggled against Fox and Castle and Wemby. I didn't really see I didn't really see anybody that came into the game that did a. I mean, they were trying hard, but that really made an impact on those three guys. Um, Even in like there was some non-Wemby minutes that the Celtics came back a little bit, but um, that's a tough matchup, man. The Spurs are certainly the second best team in the NBA right now. They are.
yeah. And when you take Jaylen Brown away for it, it makes it all that much tougher too. And then when their role players are all knocking down threes. Like everyone was hitting threes for them in that game. They were like they're an excellent basketball team, and um, defensively and offensively, they're really good. I thought
The
the
Celtics
Celtics.
centers didn't play well.
I'm having a hard time remembering.
They were.
I
Maybe I'm getting confused with it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I didn't think they were a negative. I thought offensively they helped space the floor and put someone in that dunker spot and set good screens and things like that. Um, I just San Antonio, Wemby had an all-world game. You lost your MVP player. You hung in there. Yeah, I think you still got it within three with about 3 minutes left, and then they hit a couple threes. Like credit to them every time the Celtics. I didn't think the Celtics played bad.
Do you think Jaylen
I thought
Brown
the
was kind
Spurs
of?
played great.
I was frustrated in the moment because I wanted to see these two teams play. Um, but do you think Jaylen Brown was kind of asking for that second tee the way he was? I mean, walking towards him and still yelling, and after he got the first one, like at some point you got to walk away, right?
Yeah, so there's something to that. Like I think he probably should have walked away after that first tee. I also think, the crew chief didn't give him the second tee. It was a young ref from the outside when
Well,
the
that's
crew
the part
chief,
that pissed me off. Yeah,
yeah, was handling it. So there's levels of maturity on both sides on this. I also think Tyler Ford is really a smug little asshole. He's the one that constantly teased up Jason Tatum, and he's the one that tossed Tatum before.
hmm
Um, he's got a history of just way he talks and treats players is I think this probably wasn't just about that night, Brown's reaction. I think that was probably something building with this guy.
yeah, because it used
But
to be Jason Tatum would be bitching all the time, and now it's like, I mean, even after last night's game, he went to line 14 times. And he's post game comments, he's talking about like the way Shea plays and gets calls. Like the refs were kind of giving it to you last night. They were giving you a lot of calls. Like you weren't, and you're bitching
yeah,
after that
so
game. It's like you got to kind of stop this with the every game bitching about the
I
refs.
I get kind of what he's saying against OKC too. I think it's a good conversation to have. So back to the Spurs game, just quickly, the other element that has to be brought up and isn't always brought up, that third ref coming in and throwing him out. is such a big mistake, just not because it's a marquee game. You're so tied to online gambling right now that
Mhm.
anytime shit like that happens is going to raise eyebrows, especially on
Exactly
this
what I was
league.
saying. That's what I
And
was.
you need to be better than that. And you gotta, I don't know if it's adding like a third technical or something. I don't know how you do this, but to change an outcome of the game at that moment in the second quarter when he's having an MVP night, like that's gonna make people suspicious of a league that's already people suspicious of. So they need to be careful of that. As
Yeah,
far
I know
as,
how to. I know how to make it stop. Get rid of the fucking online gambling.
well, that's not the NBA. That's those are state legislatures. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I
the
mean,
Supreme
this
Court
is
ruled it legal, so that's a bigger discussion. Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge discussion because it's a fucking problem. It's a big problem.
So the other element to this too, as you alluded to, so last night, I think what he was frustrated by, if you watch that fourth foul he picked up on Chet Holmgren on the rebound, that
Yeah,
was he touched Holmgren's shoulder and he folded like a chair. They picked up the fourth. Um, he did go into Caruso's chest for his fifth, but Caruso plays that way the whole way on the other side and doesn't get called. Lou Dort is out tripping guys, flopping on screens. There were calls down the stretch of that game that I thought were pretty weak. I thought particularly the two offensive screen fouls that Lou Dort flopped on. I thought the foul on Jaylen Brown on the rebound on Holmgren, and those are big plays, right? Those are
I thought
really
the
really
foul on
big
Sam
plays.
Hauser was a
Yeah,
bitch foul.
yeah. I thought the foul on, and again it was Holmgren. He like folded like a chair as soon as he gets. And when you add that on top of, okay, you call him that stuff, and you're letting some of the Caruso and Dort stuff go constantly letting some of the Caruso Dort stuff go, and then we're calling the fouls early in the game that Shea gets for initiating the contact, and the defender can't do anything. I mean, that does have to be eliminated from the game. I I understand it. Like I do understand the
Yeah,
conversation he's trying to have there.
I understand it, but he's doing too much. He's gonna have a target on his back. He might already have a target on his back. You know, and they didn't lose because of the refs. They lost because they got outplayed in the fourth quarter. I mean,
Yes.
OKC's defense was very good in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't like the Celtics didn't have good looks. There was a possession where Sam Hauser got two wide open threes and clunked them both. I mean, even Peyton Pritchard, that he gets to the paint, the guy falls down, he's got a wide open jumper, can't hit it. Um, and on the other end, what scares me if they play OKC, they don't have anybody that can cover Shea. They don't have anybody. He was eight for eight.
Mo
He went 8 for
yeah.
8 in the fourth
Most
quarter.
teams don't, and you raised a good point during the telecast. They did not double him. I wonder if that
They
will
should
look
have.
different when they have their full arsenal. I think Joe was holding that back. Um, I do. I think he was holding that back for a reason. As far as your earlier point about the missed shots, I like yeah, early in the fourth quarter, I felt like is when they lost the game. You had two great looks from Hauser. You had two great looks from three from Pritchard. Gaza shot one off the side of the backboard wide
Right
open
up.
from the
He
corner.
shouldn't be shooting corner threes. He needs to be up top.
So like they had some great looks, and then from there, OKC's locked in. To their credit, though, like they found ways to get to the foul line,
Well, and I think the refs
and
helped them find ways too. There was some
it's
questionable fouls with the Celtics. I loved it, but yeah,
I guess there was also a lot of physicality that wasn't called against, and so it works both ways. They hung in the game. The defense was pretty good. You know, it was pretty good. They did SGA to pass to his teammates. And like I thought it kept them in the game. And like they did not cover the Oklahoma City Thunder from three. They just refused to. There wasn't anyone they were getting out on.
yeah.
And and it almost got them to overtime. They looked at Caruso at the end of the game. They're like, okay, dude,
Well, it was
if
about
if
time they
you
did it in
you
that
beat
fourth
us,
quarter.
yeah,
They should have been doubling off him more in the fourth quarter.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of positives I take from this. And I definitely leave this. And I wanted to tell you, I thought we were going to do a pod at the end of the San Antonio game. My reaction that night after the San Antonio game was the Celtics were going to the NBA Finals because I just saw a team that continues to not quit, that has role players that are just doing their job at a high level. And once Brown and Tatum are both in a rhythm, you have those two guys. It's going to be like the old Celtics, with those two are going to carry them, and these role players are going to have to. They're going to remind me. They remind me of that team that lost to Golden State, where players are settling into their roles, and the offense is going to flow through these two. Um, and so I feel really good about it. And the thing I don't feel great about is I don't think they win the series against either one of those teams. And I don't think it goes beyond like six
Yeah,
games. I
I
think
don't know if I'm there. I want to see this play out a little bit more. I'm seeing some really promising things from this team
right,
about how they defend. And you say he doesn't have an answer for SGA or Wemby.
which is a big deal to not
A
have
lot
a
of teams,
really.
a lot of teams don't. And I think there's things they can do. I think there's still things in their bag, and they do have it really. They have better individual defenders than most teams. Um, I think I
But they
think you're
don't cover.
seeing,
Yeah.
and I think they've become maybe the toughest team in the league to guard if Tatum continues to progress.
Well, Tatum's
I
going to
think they
progress.
become the toughest team in the league. As good as OKC is on defense, as good as San Antonio is on
So they're a
defense,
tougher team to defend than San Antonio.
I think 1 through 5, I think they would be the toughest. If you're out there with Tatum, Brown, Pritchard, White, and say it's Kata, the way they run their Spain action, the way they are able to put you in really difficult spots, how patient they are on the
Yeah.
offensive side of getting to what they need. They just they'll find your weakness and exploit it. And they're methodical and they're so good at getting, extra shots on,
Let me just
per
respond by
possession and things
saying,
like that.
when it comes to Shea, this team hasn't been able to slow him down in 2 seasons now. In the
Mhm.
4 games they play, though there'll be 4 games when they meet
I
again.
OKC would be the favorite, but I wouldn't. Again, let's just see how this continues to progress. I wouldn't say that OKC it's a no doubt situation that they win the series. I wouldn't say that at all. I mean, it took them 7 against Indiana last year. I I I think this Celtics team, they're way better than I anticipated, and,
Yeah.
and they continue to get better, and their role
But
players
they're
continue
not at
to
they're
get
not at
better.
that Indiana Pacer level that they were at last year yet. The Celtics still have some work to do. I mean, when I look at OKC and San Antonio, I think that's the bar of the NBA right now. I mean, OKC's what, 17-4 now in these clutch time games? It's all because of Shea. It's
Yeah.
almost like he was flirting with taking over the game, and then the fourth quarter he just
Oh,
decided
and if they're
to
fully
do it.
healthy, they're going to be extremely difficult to beat and
Yeah.
to repeat. Like they're the favorites, Mike. Don't get me wrong. I'm just a lot higher on this team than I continue to be. And this 3 game trip, I feel better about what I think they're going to be than the previous. I think this is the team to beat in the East.
Yeah, I think if they
I
don't make it to the
firmly,
NBA Finals, it's a fail. Like they're good. They should win the East. I mean, they could lose because there's
yeah.
good teams in the East, and we should cover that a little bit because some of these teams at the bottom are looking pretty good now too. Um, but before we do that, Jim, obviously to your point, the role players are a big part of why the Celtics are where they're at. And so, why don't you pick a role player to talk about, and then I'll pick one to cover, and let's just talk about like what they've been bringing to this team, and just how impressed you are, especially with these last.
I just in this I'm going to pick this guy because I think this incorporates the whole thing. Ron Harper Jr.'s come out of nowhere.
Spanish.
It's come out of nowhere,
He looks
and
like the guy in Old School.
he
He
looks
looks
like
like
a
Spanish,
well,
doesn't he?
yeah, sure, we could that joke but he also looks like a 6 year vet.
Yeah, he's
Like
pretty
he
good.
looks like a 6 year vet out there. He's making all the right plays. It's like Derek White Jr. or something. He can shoot pretty well. He ball handles. He's a tough defender. He's a confident kid. Obviously there's a pedigree there with his family, but
He
he's been in the
starred in
system
Coach
for.
Carter, the movie. I don't know if you remember him. He was pretty good in that movie too.
Well, yeah, he's second year in the system,
Mhm.
and he's just what they're able to do with these guys, whether it's been Jordan Walsh, Shireman,
Should have played more last
Ron
night.
Harper Jr., Hugo, who hasn't been down in Maine, who's just continued to develop all season long. Cada,
Yeah.
Gaza. It's just so impressive. And
Walsh.
these are legitimate NBA players. And not only that, they're legitimate NBA players, the young players accepting a role on a team that's winning and not trying to do more when some would because there's money to be made if you do more. So, like, this is the way, I don't want to say culture because that's a Heat thing and it's the stupidest thing in the world, but just the
Maybe
system that
3-point
they
culture.
have here is really, um, really fun to watch. And he's been, to me, he just fits right in. It's like this. He just looks like he should never play a game in Maine again, in my opinion. He's an
Oh.
NBA player.
I think they got like 10 more days until they gotta fill out their roster. The Celtics apparently have 3 open roster spots. Obviously, they're just gonna take their two-way guys and make them full-time players. So hopefully he gets that like K to contract with the option or whatever, so they keep him on the team next year because he's good. Um, that game in San Antonio was great, and quite honestly, he played good last night. And I was when Hauser missed those two threes, I was like, you know what? Why don't we go to Hopper if Hauser's not hitting the shots? He's 2 for 4. He had Walsh 3 for 4. Like Walsh didn't play for a week. He comes in, he goes 3 for 4 last night,
Yeah,
hitting his shots and
he
and,
played
and
really
defending
well.
people. He
And
did.
Hugo was great last night too.
Yeah, yeah, he was. But Shea, man, poor Hugo.
Yeah, Shea got him a couple times. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
in
Yeah.
the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, you think about Ron Harper Jr. I mean, he reminds me of the kid in old school Spanish. Remember when Will Ferrell's drinking out of the bong and Spanish is like,
Yeah.
hit it again.
Yeah, this is the fourth time you made this joke. I
Yeah,
get.
so my guy Shireman, um,
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing it at all three levels of the game. He rebounds well, he shoots well. I mean, he handles the ball well. He defends well. And he's had a couple of mishaps on this road trip defensively, but for the most part all season, he's been like really solid. And I'm gonna go back to he really reminds me. He do Turkey Lou on Orlando. Like he
Yeah.
has that game to him. Um, he's gonna make money.
Hopefully,
He's
he
gonna
won't
get a
become a
contract.
spokesperson for an authoritarian president like Hito Turkoglu is right now with Edgeron. But either way, he does remind you of him as a player. Um, and
He's not an
that last
authoritarian
defensive
president anymore.
possession on Shea last night, he played good defense. Shea hit him with the chicken wing and pushed him back, and got run. But he was right there, and like that last part of it, there's nothing he can really do. Um, and you know what? If that's a NBA Finals game, that's probably Jaylen Brown there and not Bill Shireman covering that or, Derek White or Jason Tatum. So there's a little bit more strength and size probably on Shea at that moment than Shireman in that situation. But he did a good job. Mike, they're good. It's not that they're just exceeding expectations. These are good players. They're solid players and they're contributed players. And there are going to be a couple of these guys part of the playoff rotation. And I don't. They don't feel like guys that are gonna get small in the moment. They just don't. They feel like guys that they kind. I don't know. Right? What dogs? Maybe they're
Yeah, they feel
dogs.
like
They're ready to
dogs.
get
Yeah, they're
after
gonna
it.
show
Yeah.
up. Not gravity, one of those fucking nerd words. Nerds
Yeah.
taking over everything. Hey, so Jim, in the Eastern Conference, all 10 teams that would be competing right now are over 500. And the bottom, Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, and Charlotte are all at least 7-3 or 8-2 of their last 10. And
Hmm.
Toronto and Philly are falling like a rock. This conference is good. There's good teams.
Yeah.
And I think Orlando's Pablo's playing the best ball he might have been playing in his career.
A lot of above average teams. I know they're playing a better than above average, but on the whole,
Sure,
and maybe
yeah.
Charlotte's better than that. I'll say that, but I think the rest of them are just probably like above average
You
teams.
don't think Orlando
And
might be settling into who we might have thought they were? I mean, they
you got
beat
to see
Toronto. They're
more.
up to the
Yeah,
number five
yeah,
seed. They're
yeah.
catching, yeah.
They could. Yeah, they could. There's been a
People were
lot
picking them
of
to win the East at the beginning of the year.
yeah, but there's been a lot of ugliness this year. So, I don't know if it all gets fixed from a good streak at the end or not. We'll see.
Hmm.
Um, We'll see. I think sometimes when you have things plague you all year, they usually turn up at the worst times in the playoffs. That's usually what happens. Charlotte's been on a run for a while, so you could see them keep going. Miami's always a bitch in the playoffs, and
They're
I mean
beating
that.
everybody right now.
Yeah, I mean that as a compliment, not as a negative. But yeah, like I still look at this as a four-team race in the East. I think it's New York, Detroit, Cleveland, and Boston.
Yeah.
Maybe next year Charlotte will get in that dance, but I don't think it's their time yet.
No, they've regressed a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, I know you got to get going. Any comments on Bam, or are we hopping off the call?
Hey, I think it was fun. Yeah, like I don't have a lot to say about it. I don't think it was the most impressive basketball feat or athletic performance I've ever seen in my life. It was kind of weird, but it was fun. It's something that you can talk about, and it was still a hell of an achievement, and I have no problem with the way it played out at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch it obviously because we were watching the Celtics, and I was rooting for him from afar. Like I was like, "This is great. He's got 70
Yeah,
points, and he's still 9 minutes left." But then when I saw the box score, I was like, 40 fucking free throws
yeah,
and 25 3-point attempts. So I was like,
it was a little
something's not
absurd.
right
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
anyways, good for him. And
But
all right,
whatever. Like it was
yeah,
a freakish line score, freakish type performance. No one got hurt. It was the Wizards. It was like the game. Did the game really matter? Like the Wizards aren't trying to win anyways, so you might as well just go do something like this.
that's what Eric Spoelstra pretty much said to the media.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that Jaylen Brown should try to break the record on Saturday.
I'll say this to close. I think it's kind of interesting and smart. Tatum gets a day off against OKC, a game where would have been clunky again for him, and I think tough finding his shot. I wonder how they try to incorporate him against the Wizard to get some easy looks, get this offense going, get into the flow.
Won't
It's
be
a good
hard. It's like,
opportunity
hey,
to
they're
do
not
it.
covering you. Look,
They're not covering you.
go
Go,
score.
I mean, that could have some advantages for a guy that's coming off an injury like this and trying to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, go Seas.
I'll see you.
Yeah.